Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Prehistoric Kingdom with the new update. My name is Swoop there and we are here in a brand new park. I'm just outlining some of the future buildings with some of the landscaping, and then I actually dive into building a Coelophysis habitat. I did start by building a entrance building, and you can see sort of part of the beginning of it just kind of here where that square building was, but I found it really overwhelming at the time, and so I left that alone and decided to jump into building an animal habitat instead. So we'll learn a little bit about the Coelophysis here together in a moment, but first I wanted to talk a little bit about this structure that I'm building here. I decided to go with a few little spread apart viewing areas, I suppose, so just not one big building or anything like that. I've gone with quite a flat habitat for the Coelophysis. I actually went backwards and forwards quite a bit about which animal to put in here, but ended up going with the Coelophysis. This building that I'm building at the moment, or I guess it's a shade structure really, a viewing structure, is not my design. It's actually simply Savannah's design, so I'm going to give credit where credit is due because I didn't come up with this one. It's actually in one of her recent videos for a wolf habitat, and I really liked what she built, so I decided to replicate her idea in Prehistoric Kingdom, so I hope that's okay with her. So let's learn a little bit about the little dinosaurs we know as the Coelophysis. It was a small carnivorous dinosaur, and apparently the fossils have been found from the late Triassic period, so I believe that's like around 200 million-ish years ago. I could be wrong about that, so feel free to correct me in the comments if you like. It was a theropod, which I think means most of them ran on their hind legs, on their back legs, and they usually grew to about 2 meters long, which is just over 6 feet, I believe. It was quite a light little dinosaur. It was only around 23 kilos, and it had a really long, slender neck and tail, quite flexible, and quite strong hind legs and very, very sharp teeth. It was a very agile little dino, like many other, I guess, predators of its time, and it possibly fed on other small reptiles and like early relatives of mammals, I suppose. One fact I found interesting when I was reading up about these little guys was that quite a lot of skeletons have been found in New Mexico, and the discovery there suggests that they actually hunted in groups, which would have given them, I guess, an advantage over large prey. So, and I guess a current example or a real world example these days is a pack of wolves would hunt large prey, but a single wolf on its own wouldn't actually go and hunt large prey by itself. And similar is lions as well, I suppose. So yeah, it's interesting that quite a lot of them were found together. I'll pop a little screenshot in here of the skeletons if I can find it. I think it's worthwhile me mentioning, just while I'm finishing off this building here, that unfortunately during this build I did lose quite a lot of footage. So I lost footage of the fence building, or the custom fence building, I suppose, and putting in all the foliage and water into the habitat, which I know is like the main part of the video, but I didn't want to not put a video out because I lost that footage. So hopefully this is still worthwhile and worth watching. I do a live walkthrough at the end and talk a little bit about some of the backstage and sort of walk through the habitat and show you a bird's eye view. You can see just there that cut is basically everything that was lost. Unfortunately, sometimes files just get corrupt, and it's just a fact, unfortunately, of life that this happened and just happened to happen on my first return video, but never mind. You can see I've put in this massive big garden bed behind the Coelophysis habitat. My initial thoughts for that garden bed there is it's actually part of the entrance, and there's just a big garden bed as people kind of walk in, and then on the other side there would be another garden bed similar. I have decided that it's way too big, and I am going to go in and fix that up. I also wanted to make this quite realistic in the sense that despite the fact that Coelophysis are a small dinosaur, they're still very agile, they can climb very well, or from what you just probably saw, that little dino standing up on the top of this archway here, and I wanted it to look like they would not be able to escape, so I'm kind of going for as much realism as I can here, well, as realistic as you can get in a dinosaur game, I suppose. And I wanted to sort of put these fences in that they cannot sort of jump over or escape from, and I do the same kind of all the way around the habitat here. I also work out sort of shortly that the mesh fences probably aren't the most safe because Coelophysis would likely chomp off a finger. So I'm going in now and just adding in these kind of wooden planks at the bottom of the habitat's fence so that people kind of can't stick their fingers in there and get them chomped off, but also to discourage people from trying to look into the viewing area, or trying to look into the habitat rather, anywhere other than the viewing areas. And another reason for that is to give the dinosaurs, I guess, a little bit of privacy and somewhere where they can get away from guest viewing, because, you know, if you've got people staring in at you from all angles, that would kind of become quite tiresome, I can only imagine. So I think the habitat is plenty big enough. It's almost erring on slightly too big, which is why when I mentioned earlier, that's why I kind of went back and forwards as to whether this was the right habitat for the Coelophysis. I did have the Dilophosaurus in there, but I don't think that the fences are high enough for the Dilophosaurus. The Dilophosaurus kind of almost came 3/4 of the way up the fence, and so I just couldn't justify putting them in there because it would have felt like that they could easily kind of get out and attack people. So I couldn't have them in. And the other new dinosaur I didn't even try, actually. I did try the Dryosaurus, and that actually would have fit in this habitat really well, and I almost left them in there, but then I had a little think about it and I was like, you know, we've just gotten this new update, I really should be putting in a new dinosaur into this habitat. So at the moment it's a Coelophysis habitat. It may not stay that way, it depends on how this particular park unfolds and, you know, what I build next and what kind of inside buildings I build. So really depending on all of those factors will depend on whether or not it stays as a Coelophysis habitat, I suppose. I did let some guests in at one stage, and now I cannot for the life of me get rid of them, so they are in here for the foreseeable future. Something else that really bugged me while I was building is, you can see I did put a barrier into the habitat, and every time I clicked on something that was near to the barrier would light up, and it just got so frustrating that I had to delete the whole thing. The only reason I really put the barrier in there is because the education boards won't work without it having an enclosed habitat nearby with dinosaurs in there. It kind of says there are no dinosaurs nearby. So I created the barrier, turned on all of the screens, and then quickly deleted the barrier to see if the screens would stay on, and they do stay on. However, if I want to copy them, I would have to put the barrier back around again. So hopefully that's something that they will fix up in the near future. I'm just going through and doing a few little housekeeping things, and then I will do quite a lot of foliage, and the amount of times that I change the fences is insane, but I don't think I've kept all of that in here. So I'm going to leave you guys with the remainder of the speed build. There is not much longer left at all. In fact, I think it's only about 2 minutes left, and then I will take you through for the real-time tour at the end. See you then, guys. Welcome back everyone from the speed build. We are just outside the Coelophysis habitat here, kind of where you would enter this side of the park if you were coming through the entrance building. So if I just whip myself around here, you can see sort of this structure over here is the beginning of the entrance building, and then we'll kind of have an entrance plaza here. We'll have like some big garden beds here and like a great big area where people can get snacks and things to eat. And then that's kind of going to be the central hub, and then this is one of the offshoots. So rather than making a figure of 8 park like I did with Fercola Mountain Park, I'm actually going to make this one similar to how a lot of zoos are set up and how Melbourne Zoo is set up where I live in Victoria, Australia. It's kind of like got this main path down the middle section of the zoo, and then it has like these little loops that you can do and go to view the animals, and then you always end up back on the main path, so it kind of grounds you. So my main path is going to run sort of from this central area straight up here, and this is going to be one of the little offshoots where there will be more than just the Coelophysis habitat. So this garden bed here, as I mentioned in the speed build, is way bigger than I intended. Like if I zoom up, it's like almost as big or half as big as the habitat itself. So I'm actually going to shave quite a lot of this garden bed off because I just think it's a little bit ridiculously big. Also, these lovely guests in here are in here permanently. I have deleted the guest spawner because I just wanted a few in here just so that I could see how tall they were, etc, etc, thinking that they would just disappear as they have in the past, but no, they will not, and they will not go unless I guess I completely copy my habitat and start it in a new map, which I'm not going to do because that's going to take forever. So the guests that are currently in here will eventually spread out around the park and they'll be way less noticeable, but for now they are just the lucky ones that get to be in this park. Let me know down in the comments if you have any suggestions for the name of this desert park. I haven't named it yet and I don't have any ideas as yet, so if you have any really good ideas for this park, then let me know. I call it a desert park, but we have heaps of foliage here, and the reason this is all in here is just to make it a little bit more interesting than seeing like this barren wasteland while we're doing the walkthrough. So let's wander on through. I've popped in some garden beds down the side here and just kind of kept it as lush as possible. My school of thought on that is that all of this kind of stuff would actually be looked after and potentially watered by the park, depending on sort of how much water they had and so on. So all of these kind of garden beds, I'm thinking, you know, there would be planting in there. It also provides shade for the guests, which would be needed in this kind of climate. And then you have two options. You can walk down this way here and see the Coelophysis, or you can kind of bypass them and walk around this way. So we'll quickly have a look this way because there's not much to show you. It's just a little alternative route at this stage, but there will be another habitat on this side. And then you have sort of the seats on this side. And then on the other side of the garden bed here, you have the option to walk down and view the Coelophysis, which is what we're going to do. So I'm going to walk through here and see if we can spy any through this glass. Can read a little bit about them on the screen. And then see if we can see any. There's about 10 in here, I think. Can't see any through this window. Oh, there's one crossing across the water here. And another one coming out from behind here. You can just kind of catch the backstage building in the back here, but I did try and sort of block it from view so it didn't draw your attention too much. Now I have seen the Coelophysis kind of up on this rock, which leads me to believe they could probably just jump up here and run along here and escape, so I will have to fix that in the future as well. Alright, so we've seen through that one. Let's head this way. Obviously all these guests texted each other and decided to wear the same outfits. Oh, hello. How did you escape? Let's put you back. Come on, Birch. Look at Birch. Oh, Nigel, no, we don't want you. Sorry, Nigel. Birch, 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 where you going? Have a little scratch. Let's put Birch back, shall we? It is possible that Birch is one of the Coelophysis that I placed a lot earlier before I built the habitat, just to see how big the Coelophysis were. So that is entirely possible. And then she was just already free. Alright, and then we head on down here and we can have a look through the second viewing area. Let's have a look this way. You see any? There's one over here. I didn't want to make this habitat too hilly, but I have put some hills in. I've also got the waterfall down in the back here that I do want to fix up, because at the moment the water's just kind of coming out of the rocks, which isn't particularly realistic. So I do want to create like a more realistic waterfall entry point, I suppose, where the water would come out and then it just filters back through. So it would just go round and round. So it'd be recycled water. I do love these little dinos. They're so cute, and the way they run is really cute too. Alright, and then we'll head this way, just around to the final viewing area. We've got a cactus on the path, which we'll need to remove, Swoop. And then here is the... oh, there's one right there for our viewing pleasure. Hello, mate. Oh, it's chasing its tail. That is a super cute animation. Alright, and then we'll head on into the habitat here, and we'll just go for a little wander around the habitat. So what I did was, a lot of where the sand is where the dinosaurs would kind of run, and then I've put sort of the grass and things where they wouldn't have as much foot traffic. This one's asleep. Sort of asleep. Oh, he's fast asleep. Very cute. And we'll just wander about. There's another one over here asleep by this viewing platform. There we go. So we just kind of have these little areas where they can go and hang out. There's a few trees in here for shading, like if they needed to get out of the sun. And then if we head back through here, this is where, if you're a keeper, you can kind of walk through underneath this archway. And then the rest of the habitat is blocked off by these large rocks. We'll head on through, and then you have these options here to walk in and out of. So this is the backstage building at this stage. It will probably grow and change as my park grows and changes, but at this stage this is what we're dealing with. So we've got a keeper entrance door here, but they can also enter through here. They can close this, so they can herd all the Coelophysis in here if they want to, put some food in there for them and close that off, and then open up this door and come out into the habitat to clean the habitat. They've got a glass window, or I'm guessing it's like reinforced glass or perspex or something here, so they can look into the habitat here. There's also one over here, but that one is covered in mesh because it is open to the rest of the park, whereas this one, if we come through this roller door right here, we'll just phase through it. Shwoom. There we go. There's also another roller door here and an entrance door here. So this would be where you would come into the Coelophysis backstage area. You'd back your truck right up into here. You'd potentially have some things to stop them from sneaking out either side. Then you'd let them free into this little room, and then you'd have this up and they could come out into the habitat. Then you can close them off. This could also serve as a little holding pen, I suppose, if you needed to just have one in here for whatever reason. And then there is also this window on this side that they can view what's going on inside the room, because I'm assuming that most of the time this roller door would be shut as well, just to provide that extra layer of security. And then you have all these doors on either side where the keepers can come in and out and do what they need to do. So right now the keeper area is looking very bare bones. It is I do have a road here, and I do have this area here because there is going to be some more backstage buildings in this area, because there will be another habitat potentially here, and then there will also be another habitat potentially here. So I'm kind of going to do 3, and then the keeper buildings that service the 3 habitats. And then on this side, I might just have a habitat sitting out here for, I guess, a dinosaur that isn't very dangerous or isn't a carnivore, so that they can kind of enter through just one little keeper entrance, and they don't need a whole bunch of buildings to kind of maneuver the animals in and out of. So that's my plan at this stage. It may change depending on how I'm feeling, I suppose. If we zoom out, I'll show you kind of the shape of the habitat and what it looks like from the bird's eye view. So if you were coming in, the entrance building would be over here, and then this is all this sort of entrance plaza, so it's going to be very big. And then you would walk down here and you can come through and all the way around to view the other animals. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I apologize for being gone for so long, but it was a much needed break, and I probably won't be posting as often as I used to. However, I am still intending on working both in Fercola Mountain Park and in this new desert park. So let me know what you thought, what are your ideas for the name of the park, and what dinosaur you'd like to see me build for next. Thank you again, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.